Cormier.
Mr. Mayor, Director Cormier's here too, just so you know.
All right.
Okay.
Awesome. Thanks.
Okay. The Wednesday, April 26, 2023, regular meeting of the Gardner City Council, City Council Finance Committee will come to order. The clerk will please call the roll.
President Consensus.
Present.
Councilor Cormier.
Present.
And Councilor Denalowitz.
Present.
Is anyone here recording the meeting? Okay. We will begin with the acceptance correction to minutes of prior meetings for the April 3rd, 2023 meeting.
Motion that we accept it as presented.
Second.
Motion made by Councilor Cormier, seconded by Councilor Denalowitz to accept the minutes as presented. Is there discussion on the motion? All those in favor say aye.
Aye.
Those opposed say no. Motion passes. Item 10966, a measure authorizing an intermunicipal agreement between the City of Gardner and the Town of Templeton Veteran Services. We've had several of these intermunicipal agreements in the past from surrounding towns. We have the agreement also in front of us. Mr. Mayor.
Thank you very much, Madam President. This is very similar to exactly what we've done with the towns of Ashfordham, Westminster, and Princeton. This is basically just extending our veterans operations to the town of Templeton for a fee for 3 years. This, again, is what may trigger normally minimum staffing level changes in the office, but we do have, because in the supplemental budget, we made the Assistant Director of Veteran Services full-time, we do not have to make any changes to our staffing numbers as a result of this. It still keeps us within our standards. So again, this is just, again, continuing, Director Gabrilla's work with the town of Templeton on a regional basis.
Thank you. Any questions, comments from the committee?
No, that was the only question I had, whether we'd have to add, I knew there was a trigger, if you will, but this is okay. So I'll make a motion that we recommend authorization.
Second.
Motion to recommend authorization made by Councilor Ron Cormier, seconded by Councilor Denalowitz. Any discussion? All those in favor say aye.
Aye.
Those opposed say no. Motion passes. Item 10967, a notification from the mayor regarding the sale of city properties authorized by the city council since 2020. Mr. Mayor, Director Beauregard's also here, just so you know.
Okay.
This is, there are a number of properties that are
Go to the second page.
have been sold by the city, and we have that information here. Mr. Mayor?
Thank you, Madam President. This is just to give the council an update as a follow-up. Since the council voted to declare the property surplus and allow us to sell those, I just wanted to make sure that the council had all the information on how those bid processes went, what the bids were that came in, what the proposals entailed, who the people who got awarded the properties are. The only one that has an interesting story behind it is the School Street School property. During the title work that was being done on that property, it was discovered that a small portion of the parcel was obtained for playground purposes for Jackson Playground. Therefore, it does trigger Article 97 relief because it was purchased for the purpose of having a playground on that land. So there is going to have to be a vote of the city council to basically swap little corners of the parcel with each other within the Jackson Playground School Street School area so that we can alleviate that concern there. So we had to reject all the bids for that because of that title work. But everything else is there, and including the funding that is going to the general fund versus going into the special revenue account for property sales. If we take a property by tax title and then we sell it, the proceeds of that sale fall to the general fund. So basically that falls to our free cash next year is what that means. But if we take a property that's either just regular city property or something that we didn't purchase through tax title, this falls into the special revenue account that can be used for certain purposes, as stated in that letter, mainly paying the realtor, can be used to pay off debt, can be used for purposes as voted on by the city council. So all of that added together is just so you have a synopsis of that in that correspondence.
Thank you. Any questions, comments from the committee?
I'll just thank you for the update.
You welcome.
Yeah, this is really helpful. I'm glad to see the follow-up here to.
Rock Street, what, Mr. Beauregard is here, can I ask? Which piece is that on Rock Street? Is that where that factory was that was torn down?
Yeah.
Yes.
20 Rock Street, okay.
Thank you.
Yes, and that Christoph Chartier Construction was the awardee of that one. And it's currently before the Zoning Board of Appeals for zoning relief. It's about 300 square feet too short for a 2 buildable lot. So he's trying to get relief from that to build a second house on that property.
Thank you.
All right, thank you.
Motion, we recommend placing on file.
Yep,
Motion made by Councilor Donald, seconded by Councilor Cormier to place notification, to recommend placing the notification on file. Is there discussion on the motion? All those in favor say aye.
Aye.
Aye. Those opposed say no. Motion passes. Item 10968, a notification from the mayor regarding information about district improvement finance study. Mr. Mayor?
Thank you, Madam President. Director Beauregard can help with this one too. We got a grant from the Commonwealth One Stop for Growth program last year to hire mass development for a second phase of a study to see if downtown Gardner and the Mill Street Urban Renewal District would be able to qualify for a district improvement financing program. What this is any increases on taxes due to either valuation shifts or things of that nature on properties within a given district fall into a special stabilization account, for lack of a better term, that can be used for improvements made within that district. So for instance, and just using made up round numbers for a purposes of easy explanation, if we were to do this in the downtown and a property like the Garbus building right now is being taxed at $50,000, and then over the course of the year, the developers who recently purchased it do upgrades to the building, which increases the valuation on the property because it's no longer run down, but in good condition. And next year we collect $55,000 on that property. The $50,000 base goes back into the general fund, but that increased $5,000 goes back into the stabilization account. And then next year the $55,000 goes into the general fund, and any increases go into that stabilization account. And what it does is it basically, for lack of a better term, creates a perpetual care account for those districts that you can use that funding for, sidewalk upgrades or infrastructure improvements or things of that nature that can really just benefit that location. So what you have before you now is part of their consulting services is to provide information to the city council so that should this end up being something that Gardner chooses to do, the city council has an idea of this very complex and somewhat confusing process before it gets to the floor of them. So that's why Mass Development has requested at some point potentially meeting with the council in an informal setting to be able to provide that information so that, again, it's not as confusing or cumbersome as a process as it could be if it was just, surprise put on the agenda.
So this request here is for an informal meeting for an item that will eventually be on the agenda.
Yeah, I expect sometime in the fall or winter time for that to be on the agenda, but this is just, again, to start discussions to clear up any potential confusion so that it's easier when it does become on the agenda.
Thank you. Questions, comments from the committee?
Make a motion to place the notification on file and schedule a informal meeting with for the presentation.
Just want to recommend scheduling.
Recommend.
An informal, scheduling.
all right, second.
Motion made by Councilor Durant, seconded by Councilor Cormier to recommend placing the notification on file and scheduling an informal meeting for the presentation. Is there a discussion on the motion? All those in favor say aye.
Aye.
Aye. Those opposed say no. Motion passes. Item 10969. An order appropriating $350,000 from available funds, bonds, proceeds, capital projects reserved to downtown improvement capital project.
They don't have anything before us, do they?
So,
The item?
I don't see anything before me, but did you get this?
That came later.
It was in the packet, but if you don't have it in front of us, I have the order in here. Okay. Mr. Mayor?
Thank you very much, Madam President. This is the work that's going to be done in the greater Monument Park area. Director Beauregard can talk a lot more in detail of it as it is his department's project. This is new ADA compliant sidewalk on the complete perimeter of Monument Park, a new Victorian light post on the perimeter, an extension of the North Central Pathway bike trail from the skating rink down Park Street down to the soon-to-be Park Street Park area, the construction of the Park Street Park, the extension of the bike path behind Greenwood Pool. All of that work that's being done there is related to this project. Now, the bids went out and came back With the base, E.H. Perkins was the person who was awarded the bid with a base bid of about $1.4 million. If we added the one alternate to this project, which was again extending the North Central Bike Path, basically through Park Street Park and then down on the other side of the Greenwood Memorial Pool, that added an additional $194,000 and change, which brought us up to that $1.59 million project that's there. And basically this extra funding helps us cover the cost of the alternate, for lack of a better term, and adding that bike trail extension that's there. And it just saves the city a lot of money in the long run in terms of, not having to pay remobilization costs, getting all the work done at once, really not disturbing the area or neighborhood in the city longer than we have to, or more than once if we're already in the area doing work that's there. I think this is going to be a very positive project for the city. Again, this is phase 3 of our 6-phase downtown improvement project. This is what did a lot of the work in the downtown core area in the past couple of years on Main Street and Parker Street and Central Street, and now this is just continuing that work that's there. And Director Beauregard, I'm sure I missed something, so if you want to say anything, feel free.
Thank you, Mr. Mayor. Director Beauregard?
Sure. Just to add to what the mayor had said, this project will bring the bike trail to the rear of the cemetery, and then it'll allow us either later this year or early next year to continue the trail through the back of the cemetery up around the existing substation to the existing National Grid right-of-way, which is the old railhead, which eventually will tie into that railbed all the way out to 140, which is going to be a tip project in the next, coming up in the next few years, along with the bridge project, which is going to be constructed in the next 2 to 3 years. So it all ties in. So this project right here will help us, to that next stage. We've applied for the funding for the bike trail portion in the rear of the cemetery. We hope to hear from the state this summer, and hopefully we can start construction on that portion maybe this year or next.
Thank you. Questions, comments from the committee?
No?
Madam President, if I could just add one thing.
Yep.
So this is coming from our quote bond proceeds account. What this is whenever we go out for a loan order, the first couple of years we have what's called a band that's taken out, and it's kind of like a short-term financing, almost like a government bond. And what it is when we make that loan a permanent loan, we actually sell those bands, and if we take them out when interest rates are low and sell them when interest rates are high, we actually make a profit off of those. Those profits are then deposited into the special revenue account. There's only certain things that the special revenue account can be used for. Paying off debt, projects that could have a loan taken off for those projects, you can pay for them this way to avoid taking out an extra loan, which is exactly what we're doing here. Or there's different other ways that this could be spent. So that's why this is coming from a different revenue account and not free cash, not general appropriation. So just to make that clear, that's there. But also just because I don't get a chance to do this as often as I should, I just wanted to thank Director Beauregard and his crew for the amount of work they've been doing in the city this year. I don't remember another time that we've had this many ongoing projects all at once happening because of the influx of funding that's coming from the federal government, the state government, things that we've now been able to afford. And there's a ton that's being done by them. So I just wanted to recognize them for the work that they're doing too.
Thank you. Thank you, Director Beauregard.
Thank you.
And your office?
Mr. Mayor, with this expenditure, how much is left in that account? Do you know?
About $3.2 million.
3.2 million. Thank you.
If we don't expend this, will it fall to free
It falls
cash?
back into that account.
It falls back to that account, it doesn't fall to free cash?
I believe so, yes. I'll get clarification on that for Monday's meeting, but I believe it falls back into that account because of the way that the revenue was sourced.
Gotcha.
Is there a time limit as to when these funds can be utilized?
No, there is no time limit for that. Just like a free cash appropriation, it remains encumbered until the project's done or closed out by a vote.
All right.
Thank you. Further questions, comments?
No. I'll make a motion that we recommend the order.
Second?
Motion made by Councillor Cormier, seconded by Councillor Jarlowitz to recommend passage of the order. Is there discussion on the motion? All those in favor say aye.
Aye.
All opposed say no. Motion passes. Item 10958, in order authorizing $5,109.19 payment of prior year operating expenditure for various departments. This is previously on our agenda. We asked for a little more information. Mr. Mayor?
Thank you, Madam President. The city auditor has, basically stated that this is coming with basically what was owed in the last year that wasn't paid out because the budget ran out, and it is just the difference in what was included in the budget versus what we ended up getting charged for when electric rates were a lot higher last year due to the inflation that we were seeing compared to where they are now. So I know there was a question of why did the numbers not match up with what was in the bill versus what the order was. It's basically the difference in what was appropriated in the annual operating budget that we closed out last year and didn't get to finish that remaining amount.
Thank you. Questions, comments from the committee?
No, that answers my question from last time.
Thank you.
Make a motion, we recommend passage of the order to the full council.
Second.
Motion made by Councillor Derlot, seconded by Councillor Cormier to recommend passage of the order to the full council. Is there discussion on the motion? All those in favor say aye.
Aye.
Those opposed say no. Motion passes. New business, Councillor Derlot?
One thing was, in thinking about some of the other committees, they have department heads come in and do updates either every time or sporadically. I think every time for us, we might be, obviously we meet quite often, we might be too much, but if we maybe start having updates from the clerk's office, auditor's office, treasurer, collectors every so often, whether it's every month, every few months, every quarter, we're rotating around, just get an update on what those departments are up to, so we can report back to the full council. We can have an idea of things that might be coming, things to be aware of. Sure. If there are other departments we want to add to it as well, just kind of wanted to throw it out there now, but everyone here in the committee think about who they may want to include, how they want to set it up, and maybe talk about it again next meeting and set something
Might
up.
not be a bad idea, because sometimes it gives us a heads up on what's happening. I know in the clerk's office, it's a revolving door now of employees, and it's difficult for her, but also helps us with understanding where she's got a plan.
Well, the clerk is here with us, every time.
I know,
She doesn't have a venue to speak of.
But that's why I'm using her as an example.
Yeah.
But yeah, it would be good, I think.
So I think it would be helpful.
And not her.
We have to think about how they want to set it up. I have my own ideas. We can all think about it for a couple weeks and then come back and come up with a plan unless there's thoughts on it right now.
Yeah, no, I support the idea. I think it's great.
Good idea.
Yeah,
We have a list of those that are responsible for. We can pick off a couple at a time or whatever.
That's what I kind of figured. And obviously, like I said, we meet so often. I don't think they need to come. We don't have to have these every meeting. It could be once a month with some of them and rotate the who's coming.
Yeah.
We can work that out with the clerk to be able to reach out to them and get a schedule going. But I think it's a great idea, so I support it. Thank you.
And that's all.
Thank you. Good idea.
Any other new business?
Just to throw out there, Madam President, I think the FY24 operating budget will be submitted to the City Council for the May 15th meeting. I know the school committee is voting to finalize their portion of the budget at their May 8th meeting, and that's when they're also having the school budget public hearing. So I think by mid-May or the second meeting in May is when the administration is going to be submitting the FY24 budget for the council to start to review and consideration of that document.
Thank you, Mr. Mayor. Appreciate it.
Thank you.
One more thing, Mr. Mayor, the grants, the company we hired to look into getting more grants, how's that going, just in general?
It's going quite well. We had our initial meeting with all the departments over at the DPW a couple weeks ago. We had some correspondence actually just this morning about a couple of grants that have been recently released by the federal government through the Inflation Reduction Act. So it's been going quite well. I can get you a written update on that for the next meeting if the Finance Committee would like.
Yeah,
That'd be great.
Yeah, I think that's one we, unlike our own departments where it's kind of like a vendor, it'd be nice if we had at least a monthly update of runs, hits, and misses, or errors.
Absolutely, absolutely.
Thank you.
Thank you, Mr. Mayor.
Thank you.
If there's nothing further, I'll entertain a motion to adjourn.
So moved.
Second.
Motion made by Councillor Derlot, seconded by Councillor Cormier to adjourn. Is there discussion on the motion? All those in favor say aye.
Aye.
Those opposed say no. Motion passes. Thank you, Mr. Mayor.
Thank you.
Thank you.
You, everyone.
Thank you.
Meeting stands adjourned. Thank you.